Good morning, everybody. Uneducated economist here. So, happy Thanksgiving. One of the things that you're not supposed to do on Thanksgiving when you're around family is talk politics. So, let's do it. Somebody asked me how come it is that I cannot possibly see that the Trump administration had a good economy and the Biden administration has a terrible economy, and that I cannot correlate these two together. Now, something I find very interesting about this statement, like the very statement that during the Trump administration we had a good economy, and now we have a bad economy. But if you remember right, during the Trump administration, the Federal Reserve was conducting themselves in a way that the Trump administration felt was quite inappropriate. Right? Trump was saying that they wanted to fire Jerome Powell, that the Federal Reserve was doing undue damage to the economy, and that they should be lowering interest rates, going into negative interest rates, that there's no inflation, right? This is all stuff that Trump was saying at the time. Meanwhile, the Federal Reserve was ignoring the politics and conducting themselves in a way that they felt was most appropriate for the economy itself. Now, whether you think that was right or wrong or indifferent about it, it doesn't mean that Trump administration was producing a good economy. The monetary system was operating independently of what Trump was saying. And it was operating in a good economy. Remember, people were saying that Trump administration during that time, it was a good economy. But yet Trump was saying that the Federal Reserve was acting inappropriately. Like, let me put this down to like this. Say I'm sitting at a restaurant and I get this beautiful ribeye. Like, it is awesome. I mean, could it be cooked better? Yeah, probably. Who knows, right? But this thing is awesome. I mean, it is like, it's good, right? And yet, I got somebody over here saying they cooked it improperly. They didn't do it right. They're acting inappropriately, right? And I'm like, okay, now wait a minute here. I have what I want in front of me. And you're telling me that the person who cooked it did it improperly. Is that really what's happening here? Right? See, I mean, I know how it got here. Now, I'm not going to blame somebody else for messing this steak up, except for the person who cooked it. Right? So, if it's well cooked, then that's the person who I'm going to give credit to. And if it's not, guess who I'm going to blame? Right? See, I don't focus in on the administration, whoever happens to be in office at the time, and their policies and what they got going on. I look at what the economy is doing and the people who are conducting monetary policy. Right? Because if they are messing my steak up, I want to be able to blame them. And if they cook it well, I got to give them credit. Right? Because if I can't blame them if I don't give them credit. It's the two-way street that goes with it. Now, if you want to focus in on when it's going awesome, you give this person credit, but when it's going bad, you blame this other person for it, when really it's the person who cooked it, then that's up to you, right? Because you can be the owner of the facility. You can be in charge of all the people. You can be in charge of that person who's cooking it, right? Or think you are. But ultimately, it comes down to whatever it is that they decide to do with that steak. And when it comes out to you in a fashion in which that you are approving of, do you really give credit to the owner, the person who's in charge, the manager, the person who served it to you? Or do you give credit to the person who actually made it happen? Right? Now, again, I'm not for the Federal Reserve. I really am not. I'm prepared to abandon the whole central banking system altogether. I don't think a lot of people are prepared to do that. Right? So I'm not here trying to say, hey, this is a benefit to you or anything like that. Like, the Federal Reserve is no, like, saint to you, right? They're not there to save you. But it is up to you to figure out what it is that they are up to so that you can conduct yourself in a way that is most appropriate for you. Right? And this is the way I see it. When I see somebody blaming them for cooking a well-made, like providing a well-cooked steak and saying they did it wrong, even though it's right there saying, hey, it's good, right? well, then I'm not going to listen to anybody else saying it when it's bad, except for the person who has cooked it. Then I can blame them. And that's the way that I see this. All the politics of it is just a bunch of noise. You have to think about it. The Trump administration put Jerome Powell into position. You know, like, hey, we're appointing this administration is appointing this guy to be chairman of the Federal Reserve. Now, when people do that, or when that happens, people believe that the chairman is now the person who is in charge of monetary policy. That is not the case. You cannot fire Jerome Powell and change monetary policy. It's the FOMC who votes on monetary policy. It's like 12 members or something like that. 12, 13, something like that. 12 members to this FOMC. It's a bunch of people. And the chairman is one of those people. And he is the voice for the FOMC. Firing Jerome Powell does change nothing, but yet to blame him for it? Why? It's like blaming the person serving the steak. Why did you serve such a terrible steak? This is your fault. And this is like, what are you talking about? There are a whole team of people back here. You know what I'm saying? So when people are doing this, this is like the inaccurate way of looking at the Federal Reserve. It doesn't make any sense. Okay? So right now we're sitting in a position in which that people are blaming like Biden administration for what it is that the Federal Reserve is doing. It doesn't make any sense, right? It doesn't make any sense to me at all because Biden's not cooking the steak. You know, Trump didn't do it and Biden's not going to. That's all there was. That's all there is to it. And once we understand it in that fashion, then we can understand what it is that we need to do. Because that's what's most important. Like, no matter what it is that you hear about the Federal Reserve and who it is that, you know, that is giving you that information, they are giving you information that is based off of what it is that they have made decisions on their own personal finance and investments and, you know, life, whatever life decisions that they have made. You know, same as me. Right? I try to look at it as like openly, objectively, you know, without any bias as much as I can, but I can't help it, right? I mean, everybody does it from their position. And this is my position from working class. This is how I see it. Not too many people, you know, who didn't go to college, don't own businesses, don't do investments, don't work in banking finance, don't do any of that stuff, have a level of knowledge like I do, sitting in a position that I am. Right? I'm a rare breed. And I don't mean to like brag it up. I just happen to be here. When I talk to other people about economics, like, you know, the other people around me, I'm blasting them away. I'm way over their head. Right? Unless they are following this stuff and like YouTube junkies like All Nighter or my mom or something like that, who are like just, you know, hooked on every one of these videos that these people are putting out there and probably have more knowledge about this stuff than I do. Right? I mean, I'm serious. Like they gather information from everywhere. I just happen to understand it in the level that I do. Right? And I don't blame people who aren't to blame. Like, again, I'm not going to blame the owner of the restaurant for cooking an improper steak or improperly cooking a steak. That doesn't make any sense to me. I mean, it sucks for them because, I mean, it's going to be their business, their restaurant, their everything suffers from it, right? But it's not them who did it. It was the cook. They have a terrible cook, right? And that's like, you know, that's who you end up blaming for it. So, or you should end up blaming for it is, I guess, all I'm getting at. But we end up blaming like the server, Jerome Powell, right? Or the administration, the owner. It's just like none of that stuff makes sense to me anymore. Okay. Uneducated economist, you guys let me know.